what did I take from those other offices, the other business owners, the people that are, 5 steps ahead of me? They're in the same meetings amongst, like-minded practices, but looking for that 1% difference. All right, my friends, the Ultimate OD Podcast, a recap episode. We're talking about me going to P3. I've been there about 5 times now. It's harder to improve. There's no magic pill. So what do you do when you're at that point? Let me kind of give you my thought process, how I'm going to make myself better. We have a listener question. So great question. We'll answer that. Closing thought of the episode. This is the Ultimate OD Podcast. Here we go. All right, my friends, the Ultimate OD Podcast. What I'm going to be doing today is kind of recapping P3. Probably the best decision I've made to grow my practice is joining this group. And let me give you an overview of what P3 is. You have to apply to be there. You have to do so much revenue. And then once you have a certain level of revenue, you come in, they kind of give you the idea of what it is, and then you're assigned to a group. These group members are not in a competing area, but they're similar practices to yours. You release all your financial data, everything that you have, and then you kind of get in a Shark Tank type setting where you present your office and your challenges that you have, and then you have a group of just high functioning, very intelligent business owners that know optometry, and they give you their feedback. Now, it's incredibly humbling and intimidating when you first go there because, humbling because you are usually the smallest fish in the pond. Like some of these offices that you're around have 40 offices. They're not in my group, obviously, but there's other offices that are your size that are just killing it. I remember revenue per patient was almost like double what mine was when I first started. I was like, oh man. And then you look at all the other data, like what they're doing for photos, their capture rates, their exam onlys, and you're like, holy cow. We really have to pick up our game. And the nice part about that is when you first go to those meetings, there's huge rocks. You can just pull this lever and you're going to see an increased ROI instantaneously. Little things that you just overlooked because you had no one else that held you accountable. Like one of the things when I first got there, my photos percentage was like 2%. And they're like, sir, why are you not doing photos? I don't have a good answer for you, was my response. I thought it would slow up flow, right, of my workups. Other offices are like 78 to 90%. And I was at 2. And one of the things that I said is I wanted to have a really successful business that, generating money, etc. And one of the ladies looked at me. She's cool, but she's like, "Want to make money, huh? You're just setting it on fire right now." And like said it, kind of humorously, but directly and bluntly, like, "Yeah, you say that, but what are you doing, man?" And I don't want to make the idea that it's not it's a very welcoming environment. It's all given with a no ego, right? But I resonated. It resonated with me. Like you make big declarations, you have big goals, and you really just hold yourself accountable. When you tell it to someone else, especially someone that's been there and has already done what you want to do, hits a little differently, right? Like, yes, ma'am, I will get onto that photo thing, right? They also gave you metrics. These are the things that will make your practice better. I took those metrics and I implemented them to a T, right? Exam only rate, capture rate, pre-appointing. Little things that I wasn't doing that have made a difference in my practice, right? So this is my 5th meeting, I believe, 4th or 5th. Call it my 5th. There's less of those levers to pull. Okay, so the question you ask yourself is, all right, have I learned everything I can possibly learn? And that obviously is not the case. If you think that, you're destined for failure, right? You will never know to that level. And also, look around you. You go to that meeting, remember, people with 40 offices. I have 1. that hasn't even cracked 2 million. I have a lot to learn, right? Well, what did I take from those other offices, the other business owners, the people that are, 5 steps ahead of me? They're in the same meetings amongst, like-minded practices, but looking for that 1% difference, that edge, right? And that's what I took away from my group, my meeting is, there's no big rocks that I can pull. It's looking at what I'm actually doing and making it better. Yeah, we're doing good on exam onlys. We're doing good on our dry eye. What can you do to refine that? Little percentage movements at the highest level make a huge return, a huge difference. I'm growing, so 5% of a bigger practice has a lot more impact. When you're just small, 1 to 5% doesn't do so much, but you do that little bit, the bigger you get, it has more impact. Okay, so 1% improvement. Just refine what I've already done. The other thing, when you go to a meeting like that, especially when you've gotten things buttoned up pretty well, you have a decent practice. What am I missing? Where are my blind spots? One of the things that was brought to my attention was, we do myopia management, but we're not doing it to the highest level. And my name in my office is Family Vision Optical, right? That screams kids and myopia management. Well, not really my passion. I'd rather be an RDAC doing dry eye anterior sight. But we still see these, kids' exams, and we do myopia management. Well, if you're gonna do it at your practice, do it well. And that was the biggest lever I think I can pull that will give an impact on the office that I was neglecting. So take a step back, and you've refined everything. It's just the little fine tuning, polishing up where you're at. But do you have a blind spot? Do you have something that you do and you're just half in? Well, get rid of it or make it worth your time. Really impactful for me to see that and make it worth my time. Now, this is another overview of what I think you can do for any conference, any meeting that you go to. I say you have a laundry list of ideas. When you're in the conference, write down every single idea you can think of that you hear, every great idea, put it on paper. I'm putting it in my phone, and then I'll go into my hotel room at night or go to a restaurant and I'll write it in a notebook. Something about the physical act of writing it helps me out. Studies have shown that actually writing helps you process things better in your brain than typing. So just, hey, I'm not a scientist here. I'm just playing one on a YouTube video here. But that being said, I write it down, have the whole list. Then on the flight home or the next day, I put it into groups. What are the big things? What can I do? And I think there's a max of 5. I think 3 are realistic. Max of 5. I don't think you can do 5. I really don't. 3, though, I think you can do. Unless there's one big lever, like you can pull that, fix that in a day, sure. Then you can have a bigger list. But 3 things. I take those 3 things and I new thing. I used to just write them down and that's my focus. What I'm doing now is we kind of make PowerPoints to present. So I'm already making the PowerPoint. I take the 3 to 5 things, I put that down there, and then have you ever heard of a 10K? So publicly traded companies, when they have their shareholder meetings, they have this thing called a 10K, and it lists everything about their business, what they wanted, their objectives, what they hoped, their objectives or their goals, what they hope achieving those goals will accomplish, whether they succeeded, KPIs, risks, what they've learned. Like it's just a great breakdown. Throw it into ChatGPT or whatnot. Say, what is in the 10K? Then pare it down to what you feel is relevant, and that is what you should look at the next 6 months. So that's what I'm doing. I have my goals. Now I'm writing out what I think they'll accomplish, what I hope they'll do for the practice. It makes me really think about it from a real business strategic standpoint. I think this is why, or what I need to do to be the CEO of my practice, to really be the owner and operator, right? So what I hope to accomplish, and then set the plan, make it happen. When I have my CO time, when I'm not in the exam room, these are my focus for the next 6 months, right? And I'll let you know how it goes, but that's something that I do at every single meeting I go to, and I'm always trying to get better. And this, like I said, is what I want to relay to you, because I am amongst people that are 5 steps ahead of me that already have done what I'm trying to do, and they're still in these meetings, in these mastermind groups, looking for that edge. You think you have it? No way, right? Julie Helmus, one of the best doctors that I associate with on a regular basis, is in the same classes as me, and you watch her in a class, taking notes, asking questions to the presenter. She is dialed in, right? If she, I don't know, she's a bigger practice than me, like she has a huge practice. Why can't I be just as engaged, right? She has a huge practice. Why can't I be just as engaged? And that's just the other thing. More than ever, what P3 has also done is they say, who do you associate with, right? And you look around, that's who you are. I have a much higher level of optometry business owners that I can now collaborate with. And the cool thing about, I think, optometry in general, but this group of like-minded individuals, they can be that 40 doctor practice, and they're still talking to me, giving me advice, tips, saying, hey, good job on what you did. And I have done a fraction of what they did, but that's the culture, that's the environment that this group is. If you're interested in P3, give me a shout. But literally, like I said, that's why I love going there. I love investing in that. And those are the things I learned from this meeting that are going to make my practice better. All right, as I talked about in the intro, a little recap of what I learned from my last P3 meeting. And now we have a listener question. So let me read the question and kind of go into it. I've been listening to the podcast now for the past several months. Your journey is inspiring. Thank you. Some questions that I have for you. When you decided to start Rejuvenation Dry Eye Center, how did you introduce that to your patients, and what menu of treatments did you initially start with? Great question. So for dry eye, right now, everything we've done has been internal. So we see a comprehensive exam at Family Vision Optical, we do our exam, and then we convert them to our dry eye clinic. So anytime they get stuff from the dry eye clinic, emails, letterhead, paper, it's all RDEC branded. Okay. So it's kind of a transition from one to the other, but there's no real verbal conversation about it. Even when I started, we had some paperwork, we had letterhead and branded stuff, but it wasn't like, oh, we need to refer you to the Rejuvenation Dry Eye Center. They had seen me, they know me as a doctor. We're going to see them back for X, Y, or Z. The purpose of RDEC is more for outside offices. If we want to get a referral, other optometrists are very unlikely to refer to Family Vision Optical. There is a chance they will refer to Rejuvenation Dry Eye Center. So RDEC is more of an external facing entity than it is internal. Once they're in our system, we're going to do what we do naturally. The treatments that I initially had, and now when I started this, it was in 22, I had the idea I wanted to do dry eye. So the first thing I started doing was, what could I do from home therapies? And I talked about masks, I talked about supplements. We had everything you could think of. And I've honed that down. I've refined that over the years. So there's less things that we're offering. There's more things that I believe in. But initially I'd say, this is what I see. I want you to do this home therapy, and I want you to come back for a follow-up. I didn't have a much to offer other than that, maybe pharmaceutical options, etc. But my beta test was, are they even going to come back? Because I questioned, if I sent them, with the home therapy, would they come back in 4 to 6 weeks? And they did. So once they started coming back 4 to 6 weeks, I was to the point where I was doing nothing but studying how to manage dry eye. And the two big things that you run into are inflammation and obstruction. Okay? IPL was the first thing I bought. And I just made the leap because every single dry eye guru, dry eye person I talked to or listened to or observed or read about talked about IPL. And I'm like, if all of them are doing it, it has to be something. Now, as I've learned the game, these people are influencers. They're getting paid by the companies to talk about these devices. It doesn't mean they don't work, but take it all with a grain of salt. So, added the IPL, and it does work. I have Luminous Opulite. I'm a big fan of the tech. Luminous is what it is, right? But I like IPL. IPL works. That was the first thing I offered. We then found a heat mask that we would use. I think at the time, iEco was a thing. iEco is bought now by PRN, and they've been bought by other people. I have no idea who owns them now. A lot of consolidation going on. However, we had IPL and we had a heat mask. I found some red light therapy, so I added those as my three big things. IPL was the mainstay. IPL was our advanced therapy that we would offer. We would throw in some heat, we'd throw in some red light, but that's kind of how I started. As I progressed, I added tear care, and then tear care is garbage because they made it so it's like $1,000 a unit. They're trying to get it covered by insurance, which I know you can have your thoughts on that, but one of the appeals to dry eye is it's cash paid. You don't have to deal with insurance. So let them do what they do. But I added tear care for a little bit. Once they elevated the price, got out of that. And then, as you guys know, if you've listened, I've added Tixel, which hands down probably the best device, most versatile that we bought. And then the Forma I by Enmode. If I could only have one thing for inflammation and one thing for obstruction, I'd be IPL and Tixel. RF I do like. It's just a little bit slower. I think there's more benefits to Tixel, and it's a quicker outcome. So that being said, that's what I offered. That's the evolution. That's how I introduced RDEC. It wasn't really for the patients I had in office. Right now, we use RDEC as a awareness piece. When we do anything dry eye related, it's on our RDEC channels, RDEC branding. We're trying to build that in the future to its own entity, so I'm trying to build that brand. Second question from that email. And another question to follow that up is, how did you get the word out to other practices, doctors, about having a center that specializes in dry eye? Was it going directly to them and introducing yourself, emails, handwritten letters? So, very good question. And that's something that I'm still actively trying to do right now. One of the things that got awareness initially was we do the videos. And when we do the videos, that gets our message out and that drives awareness. We have a small channel of people within our area that watch them. Patients would watch them. They talk about them. So I know they're being seen. But as we got better, we worked with National Strategic. Let me know if you have any questions about them. But what they do is they help get our messaging out to multiple platforms. So we make a video. That video is made into transcripts. It's made into blogs. It helps our SEO. And then the search generative experience, when you look at how the algorithm works for Google, will then take that, use it as an AI overview, and that's the first thing you see when they ask a question. And it links to us. They can convert from there. So we've done a lot with YouTube, TikTok. They make transcripts, and then using our marketing company to make SEO rich content and get awareness in that event. We are going to start going more door to door and delivering a menu of services that we offer to rheumatologists, other ODs, corporate optometry, dermatologists, anyone and everyone. We want the word out that we offer these services. I'll let you know how that goes, but the honest to goodness best way to grow your dry eye practice is build that primary care office. Once you have primary care patients, if you get the right protocol, you will convert them to dry eye patients. And honestly, as me and my associate kind of refine our process, we're still putting the word out. We're trying to get as many referrals as we can, but organic search and getting them into our ecosystem and then trusting the process that we've created has been the best way to convert these patients. So the next episode I do is going to be more about that process. So listen to that. But thank you for the question. If you have any more, send them my way. If you need more elaboration based on what I've answered here, send me an email. I'll follow up with you, directly. But I thought a lot of people would benefit from hearing your questions. Again, thank you for listening. Like, subscribe. We'll have more for you next week. Where has the time gone? We are to the closing thought of the episode, and today I will leave you with this. The work begins when the motivation ends. Ooh. That's when the work begins, and that is so stinking true. Life comes at you hard, life never stops, and you're going to hit road bumps. It's not always green grass and blue skies. There's some storms, there's some valleys. The best keep on showing up. I don't know how or why I've done this podcast for 5 years. Like, I enjoy it. I like doing it. But if you talk to me and say, hey, how long have you been doing the podcast? And I have to think about it and say, 5 years. And I've posted an episode once a week for 5 years. I cannot believe I've been here this long. And I don't think it's the best. I think there's better podcasts out there. I think I can improve. But I'll tell you this right now, I'm better than I was in 2020. I have gained skills because of doing the podcast that have helped me become a better speaker. So what I'll leave you with that is there's things that just you don't like doing or it gets hard because you lost a little motivation. That pushing through, that commitment and consistency is what will make you great. That's what I tell myself. That's what I got. Dr. Lily out.